is communism is social ownership.
Welcome back to the Adam and Sheridan Show video podcast. I'm Adam Courtwright.
I'm Sheridan. This video podcast is very interesting. There are a lot of news stories which we're not going to cover, one of which is the protests and actually the violence in Kiev.
Although we are covering that on our radio show, so
go take a listen.
By now it's probably on our SoundCloud page.
Honestly, I just wanted to mention that because we're going to play the Great Gate of Kiev in the background here.
We're also playing that on the radio show as well.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to
I just want to play it. I used to play that in orchestras constantly.
See, I didn't know what it was. See, this is a learning experience.
Pictures of an exhibition?
I learned that just a few hours ago.
When I sent you a text.
Yes. So what we're going to focus on here is, remember a couple weeks ago we started Kshama-Watch. She's the...
We inaugurated Watch on
right here on the broadcast. She's the Socialist councilwoman from Seattle, one of the first to be elected in decades, and she ran on a campaign of $15 an hour.
That was one of the things she ran on, taking from the fast food forward movement and a lot of movements, and apparently SeaTac, Seattle-Tacoma, I found out it's an airport.
It's an airport. They now have $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yep, they now have 15, which is incredible, which is great for the workers. But I had read an article which said it was a suburb. And
she has other things that she says in her speech, but this is one of the main things that got her elected, because people all across the country, but especially in Seattle, are supporting a raise in the minimum wage. In Seattle, it's $15 an hour. Now, there's some criticism from other socialists because they're saying that this was actually put forward by the Democratic Party, and she's jumping aboard that, and there's a danger that she's going to be co-opted by the Democratic Party, or perhaps it's even intentional on her part. So you wanted to ring in on that. I
wanted to talk about, well, she gave a speech at a $15 an hour rally in Seattle, and when I didn't actually get to see the speech before I read an article by the World Socialist website, our often cited source. Yes. And when I read the article, my reaction wasn't great. But I recovered when I realized that a lot of it possibly wasn't true. So,
well, would you like to explain to them why you're crying? I mean,
they basically said that she is not trying to subvert power. She is buying into the two-party system, and she is throwing her support behind the Democrats, and she warmly embraced the speaker that had come after her. Now, of course, in the article they didn't quote very much about what she actually said, because what she actually said is quite close to actually what she said during her campaign.
It's funny, in the WSWS article written by Jerry White, he actually says, despite all of the rhetoric about breaking away from the two-party system and the two big business parties, she really means this. So in other words, she did say socialist things in the speech.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were just saying, we don't believe you.
Yeah.
That's all, I mean, they weren't pointing to anything specific that you said that proved their point.
Yes, and so while I think a lot of what the article said was hyperbolic and kind of trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, one thing that they did say was very apparent, and something that we had covered on the Adam and Sheridan Show and the video podcast here. We talked about the fact that she didn't mention in her campaign the Boeing strike. And during her inauguration speech, which I said, it's an inauguration speech. It's something, you know, it's a celebratory thing. It's saying, hey, let's now go forward with this whole movement.
So we gave her a pass.
So I gave you, I gave you.
No, we're talking directly to her.
Shama's one of our, yes.
This is one of our live link right to her, where her hand.
We're going to have her on in a minute.
Yeah. Kshama, just wait there, okay? All right.
But she didn't mention it in her inaugural speech, and I said that was fine. But she didn't mention it in this, which was about workers, which was about struggle, which was about trying to get a fair shake for labor. She didn't mention labor and the biggest labor struggle that has been in this country in many months, with a Boeing strike, which had a terrible contract pushed through during the Christmas season. So this is very new. This is very fresh. This is very terrible, and this is very unfortunate stuff. right in her own area, which she didn't mention.
Yeah, she should be clamoring for a revote or even a recount of that contract vote in early January, because there were so many workers who were on vacation that didn't get a chance to vote.
Yeah,
And this was a contract that was voted down by 2/3 of the full membership in November.
yeah. Yeah,
So-
this was a terrible contract that workers were not going to agree to, and there was a lot of rhetoric before the Christmas vacation where people were saying, "Listen, building planes is a specific science. You need skilled people, you need educated people, you need us to build this. So we're going to hold out and we're going to fight." And then over the Christmas break, this was pushed through and it was passed by a select few people, and this is a problem. So the talking points now should be this was capital forcing concessions on labor. This was the failure of the bureaucratic union heads. You know, this was a terrible thing that was passed by without.
They sold them out.
Yeah.
The union had sold. There's no other way to. How can you possibly say that they didn't when the president of the international president of the union? This is an international union, and you know the workers were saying, you know, we want a revote, and the only way you can get a revote is if the president of the union says so, and he just said baldly no without any explanation. So how else are you going to explain it? It's you know, they sold them out. So later on in the article, there's another speaker after Sawant who really is repellent to me. I watched the speech, and he was talking about how he got up there, and you know, he's a member of a union bureaucracy, and he says, now look, I know all of you are excited. I'm paraphrasing. I know all of you are excited about Kshama's win, and it's great that you're all activists, but frankly, we need to water it down, because the Democratic establishment is not going to accept all of your activism. Believe me, I've been there. I've been in the business for 30 years. I know. I used to care too. So basically, he was talking. He even referred to the audience as kids, as young people.
Oh my goodness!
It was very condescending. It was basically saying you either have to you know, join the Democratic establishment. He didn't use those words, of course, or you're just going to end up being factionally canceling each other out.
But that's the kind of language that has been used against the left constantly. It's like, listen, you little tykes, when you grow up you'll understand, and then you'll give up all this radical nonsense. And then they try and shunt you to the side and say, you know, buy in or give up, which is terrible. It's not something that should be able to go through. So watch the speech, tell us what you think, tell us what you think of Kshama-Watch so far. We only have one episode before we take our month hiatus, and then we start retooling the show. So give us an email, adamandsheridanshow@gmail.com. Let us know what you'd like to see.
Hit us up on Facebook and like us there. Leave a message on our page. Also like the YouTube channel that you're currently watching. And
Subscribe to it.
Leave a message. Let us know. And what else? Tweet.
Follow me on Twitter.
Tweet. Follow us on Twitter. The show, right?
Do you tweet?
I have a Twitter account. I call it Tweetski.
Listen to us on WRFALP.com, Fridays at 6, Sundays at 11 a.m., or listen to us on SoundCloud, which you can listen to all our back shows.
I'm Adam Courtright.
I'm Sheridan. Stay active. Okay, there's noise. Make sure there's noise. So I Mr. Bean it up.